Hello guys, this is me, Mega Man here, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Klonoa, Empire of Dreams for the Game Boy Advance. So last time we've pretty much completed the forms of the third world in this game, which appears to be Geo Bob, and that was actually a nice world actually. At least as far as I'm concerned, this world is actually based around food and all that stuff. So today for this episode is the fact that we are moving on to the fourth world in this game, known as Central. And this does most it takes place in the forest village. So, look, here's someone on the ground. Are you okay? Oh, visitors. Cough, cough. Best to keep your distance. I have a cold that won't get better. How did that happen? A monster appeared in the valley and spread a new sickness around. Now everybody has a fever. Oh dear, the coronavirus all over again. Cough, cough. Isn't there a doctor around? Well, no. Dr. Medum has disappeared. He was such a great doctor too. Cough. Aha! Perhaps he's caught up in a strange dream as well. Wait right here. We'll bring Dr. Medum back. Loopity-loo, Hyupo. So yeah, as far as what this world suggests is the fact that we're obviously going to be experiencing not only just trying to explore the majority of the forest, but also that, as you can see, that we stumbled across water. So this meaning if you dare touch the water, very much like the forms of how it does it on certain Sonic games, yeah, specifically Sonic Unleashed or Sonic Generations on, you know, home console versions in particular, that if you somehow get into the actual water, well, to be more specifically in Seaside Hill level, basically if you do dare touch the water, then you do take damage. However though, unlike the ones how it does it in certain Sonic games, that basically you fall off and die instantly, specifically in Sonic Heroes, and also Sonic 06, and even Sonic Unleashed. So because of that though, yeah, you're gonna have to pay attention to the actual, like, you know, just try to avoid the water involved. And as far as I'm aware, that's usually, relatively speaking, this is where the game starts to get a bit tricky, but at the same time, not as hard as it used to be. Well, it wasn't until whenever we get to the very end of this particular playthrough of this game. So, but either way though, we'll find it out at some point or another. But anyway, few things I want to explain is the fact that obviously today's day is of course the 13th of July today, in this case in 2021, and seems to be more specifically that we've pretty much almost at the halfway point in terms of July already. So by that time is the fact that we can be able to expect what's going to be coming up for the next few days. Although another thing is worth noting for this point too, that recently that the Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania obviously did manage to able to get themselves a new trailer of any sort, which it all it gets is just basically like a story mode clip of any sort, but either way though. And also same applies to able to actually showing us some of these familiar stages again. So either way though, things will be expected by this point. So, and I suppose another thing for this point too is the fact that I finally managed to able to go back into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Why? Because thank God, I've now finally been able to actually access to the forms of those missing spirits that I somehow missed out from the likes of in March. And this what appears to be based off from Monster Hunter Rise. And thank God for that, because until when it gets to the point until, God knows until by the end of the year, that we'll able to actually come across into ourselves the final pieces of, you know, spirits throughout the whole game of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And once I'm done with that, then I'm basically fully accomplished the forms of 100% completing in terms of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. The only thing exception, mind you, which happens to be by the forms of, well, let's just say Central Smash, because I found it's kind of optional to me though, but that's how it is for me. So either way though, that's as far as I can usually try to explain about this. So either way though, things will be expected by that point. So, and of course, as you guys should probably already know, ever since when Maxi has already mentioned about, since Journey Forms have been on yesterday, that he finally managed to come back onto Pac-Man World 3. And that is because obviously we just managed to go back from Dorset holiday vacation, and overall we did have a really great time, as what he already mentioned more about it. Or he already mentioned that since Journey Forms of yesterday. Now I'm sure enough that Mighty the Armadillo will definitely gonna come back onto Mario Party 5 at some point in this particular weekend. So, and around that time is the fact that that will be roughly almost during the exact same time as when The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD for the Nintendo Switch will be releasing, along with the forms of some of the other films here and there as well, like for instance Space Jam, A New Legacy, and also the same applies to the other films that are here and there too. So yeah, talking of which though, when it comes to the forms and everything else I would like to discuss, unfortunately though, I did come across into some sort of like a bad news for this point today, and this is maybe something to do with the forms of Hasbro copyright thing just managed able to screw me up again. However, this time around though is even worse, is that, I just took my death. Oh well, we'll try this room again, but thankfully it's not too far from here, I don't think, because, well, obviously that one thing you can do when it comes to able to do in these sections is that you can take the, well, if you get hit by certain water, then basically you can take the invincibility frames if you want to make the process a bit faster for you. But obviously it might be not recommendable thing to do. But regardless of such though, speaking of water, and as you can see we stumbled across the actual water level switching. And that's only because, well, there are some parts throughout the level that does manage to require you to able to activate certain water switches. And that way you can able to get certain progressions for certain puzzles to solve, and also just pretty much everything else. So, yeah, this feels like a water world of any sorts, while at the same time it does take place in a forested nature. So, think of like a combination of, let's just say a water-themed level from the original Klonoa, in this case Klonoa Daughter Phantom Isle, and at the same time takes place in the actual, well, the forest nature. So because of that, you probably expect it by that point. So, oh, and another thing too is the fact that, usually, relatively speaking, is the fact that what if we get into the forms of the 4th level or the 6th levels throughout the whole entire game, this is where the game starts to get really difficult if you try to go after those little dream crystals, as far as I'm concerned. So, at least we can able to try to cope with this, I suppose, but still. But I digress. And yeah, let's just get to the actual bad news out of the way when it comes to our YouTube videos and all that stuff, including the forms of Daily Motion, because yes, unfortunately though, this is why I'm gonna have to mention something for this point right about now. That is that, unfortunately though, we no longer have ourselves the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic 10th anniversary video, because there was that one point when I somehow managed able to go back into Daily Motion website for quite some time, and unfortunately though, one of our parts has been removed, and as a result, I did not do anything, or I haven't jinxed or anything, it just deletes it all by itself. Like, I don't know what's wrong with it though. Especially noticeable about the fact that luckily part 2 is up and running, but unfortunately though, for our first part of the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic 10th anniversary special on Daily Motion website in our channel, unfortunately though, it is gone forever, which is pretty sucks if you ask me. Especially noticeable that I've worked so hard to able to actually get this presentation running and going, but the thing sometimes screws me up. I'm looking at you when it comes to the forms of Hasbro Studios copyright blocks or something like that, or maybe it's because of something else for that matter. But unfortunately though, that in fact, kind of thinking about it, it does remind me of one of those limited runs where it comes to certain videos for specifically. Yes, it is very similar to the forms of the Super Mario Bros. 35th anniversary event, which that's to be expected, and also because, well, I just got paranoid, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, if you guys do actually just miss out on the forms of that particular video event, me talking about how amazing that show can be, unfortunately though, part 1 is no longer there, which just sucks if you ask me, so I do apologize for that, especially noticeable about the fact that, well, I just worked so hard, even especially noticeable that, I'm sure that, although I did manage to try out the Daily Motion again, and I just somehow basically give up on that website. So because of that, I'm gonna have to able to delete my Daily Motion account, which as a result, this means is the fact that, well, I'm just, well, pretty much screwed. Especially noticeable how the fact that one of my videos is removed. Like, out of nowhere, whenever I manage to go back onto Daily Motion. And again, I said this before already, that I do not jinx it or anything, or even I don't delete it by myself. It just deletes it all by itself. Like, well, out of nowhere, which is pretty unfair. Even for likely if you work so hard and then basically everything else got screwed over because of some stupid situations like that. And it's just, it just ticks me off. It literally just ticked me off. But anyway, I suppose that's pretty much as far as I can usually try to describe about the forms of how underwhelming that is for me. Even for, you know, as much as I always enjoy My Little Pony Friendship is Magic show, which I still do, even as a Brony community, but it's just, I can't believe I just got myself screwed over by that stupid random, out of nowhere, deleting uploading thing, which I just have no words to think about. So yeah, I'm sorry guys, especially how some things just usually annoys me most of the time, and it's just, you know, it's super annoying. So anyway, but let's just not talk about this right now anymore, just because, well, unfortunately it's no longer there, but we'll just go ahead and play a Klonoa game for a while. So because of that, because again, it has been about, quite a few days since we actually coming back to this, ever since on Thursday. So because of that, yeah, we must be able to actually still carry on doing this, and, potentially speaking also, is the fact that we're pretty much at the halfway point in terms of this game already, before we move on to the next Klonoa Let's Play, which appears to be Klonoa 2, Lunati's Fail for the PlayStation 2. Now after we're done with that, we're pretty much going to be moving on to the final Klonoa game as for that point, for the platforming genres of Klonoa games for that matter. It will be by the forms of Klonoa 2 Dream Champ Tournament, so for the Game Boy Advance. However though, here's something worth noting for, I don't feel like trying to able to tackle through Klonoa Beach Volleyball, because it's more likely like, you know, a Klonoa version of Mario Party 4 Beach Volley Frolly minigame / Mario Party 5 Beach Volleyball minigame, except with you know, Klonoa characters, and that's pretty much about it. And also, I don't feel like trying to tackle through Klonoa game as an RPG game on the Game Boy Advance, because that game was only exclusive to Japan, very much like, you know, Klonoa Moonlight Museum, so I guess that sure is something, I suppose, but still. But I digress. Oh yeah, this is where we stumbled across ourselves these little arrow directions, as you saw. Now if you guys are probably thinking about the fact that, oh, these arrows might be useless, well, it turns out it is useful, especially noticeable if we get into later puzzles. Specifically, whenever we get towards the very end of the game, which I'll discuss more about it until whenever we get into that certain point. So as you can see, we stumbled across the red arrows or the blue arrows. And these blue arrows, as we've managed able to walk past through, this will actually allows you to able to actually, if you try to use the wind bullet at the actual, the blue arrow, basically, it can actually change directions based off from what directions you're about to be trying to aiming for. And also, during that time, you can also just manage to use those little enemy-like blocks until you're able to move them automatically. Or, alternatively, you can also just manage to use as enemy projectiles until you're able to do just that. Especially noticeable for the actual time-switched switch for specifically trying to activate the doors and stuff like that. So, yeah, you probably get the gist of it. So, speaking of puzzles though, this is where the puzzles might get a bit tricky, but until when it gets to the point until Klonoa 2 Dream Champ Tournament, that, I will say though, that whenever we get into that game does have a lot of harder puzzles, which, yeah, believe me, whenever we get into that, at some point next year, well, not this year though, just because, well, then again, we have to mainly focusing on this from now on, and also when we're done with this, we're pretty much moving on to Klonoa 2, Lunati's Veil, so that we can able to understand what the actual, the next few characters we actually introduce into ourselves into. So, yeah, you probably get the gist of it. So, anyways, let's activate that switch over there, and grab that little, star crystal thing here, and hopefully we would be able to grab this little, blue, dream crystal, or, yeah, just green, blue. I can't really speak today for this point, guys, because, again, I just got paranoid by the forms of that other thing I mentioned earlier, but either way, though, let's just move on from now on and just, you know, focusing on the good stuff, so, but usually as far as I was going to be concerned about, so. Anyway, let's go and toss that enemy over there, so that way we can able to activate one of these platforms, as you saw. So hopefully we'll climb up, and, well, potentially speaking, we could have able to just avoid, you know, a lot of incoming enemies, and also, well, just activate that switch for the sake of time, and trying to go, you know, down the ladder, and of course we do need to activate that switch again, so just in case we can able to do just that. But, yeah, not much else to talk about it, aside from the fact that, well, usually relatively speaking, that we're pretty much almost nearly at the end of this Let's Play, before we move on to the next set of few Let's Plays in particular. So, we are getting there, folks. We are slowly but surely getting there. So, anyways, let's go ahead and, use that as towards an advantage, and also, yeah, I think I need that block again, just in case I can able to jump a bit higher, so. Oh well, no big deal, but at least besides the fact that we can able to just do that. And thankfully, there's no complications with the actual recording setup, unlike, you know, Moonlight Museum, they're gonna have to constantly able to stop recording on horizontal position and then switch it over to vertical game mode. So, yeah, that might be short something, I suppose. But anyway, now let's move on to Vision 4-4, we're once again going on to, you know, the hoverboard section, and, yeah, this is what I mean, that this is what the actual, some of these levels like this can get pretty difficult if you try to go after these little, dream crystals, as far as I'm concerned, so. But, yeah, we're pretty much almost done with these kinds of levels like this, and so whenever we get into towards at the very end of the game, then basically that is going to be just strictly platforming and also some puzzle sections. So, yeah, that's sure it's something, I suppose, but I digress. But yeah, aside from all that stuff though, there's not much else we can talk about, aside from the fact that, well, usually potentially speaking that, well, we've already seen another game trailer where it comes to the forms of Sonic Colors Ultimate, but this time on the Switch. I'm pretty sure that Mexi has already mentioned about since in Pac-Man World 3 Let's Play since yesterday, but I feel like I was trying to mention about that again for those of you who actually missed it out. Yes, unfortunately though, that the Switch version is going to be running on 30 frames per second, just like the original game. However though, that it feels also kind of similar to, as in the forms of the Switch versions between, you know, Sonic Forces, along with Team Sonic Racing, because those two other games on the Nintendo Switch also runs on 30 frames per second, so because of that, honestly, I don't mind about that at all, but in fact, I can able to play the thing on the go, luckily, if I was gonna able to try to do a Let's Play of the game when that game comes out, even though I do need to get a bit of practice on that game after playing for quite some time, since 2017. In fact, that was actually the last time we actually played that game since in 2017, during the course of our redo Let's Play of the game back in that year, just because of, you know, improvement quality and everything, so, yeah, that might be sure it's something to worth classified for noticing this already from the start, so. Anyway, so let's go ahead and, oh jeez, I think I've almost able to screw myself a bit over, so, at least that's fine by me, I suppose. But still, you can't really able to deny it by the forms of, well, pretty much everything else you might as well expect. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and use that little bomb-like enemy, and hopefully we should be able to just, you know, try to activate one of these switches, and drat. I somehow almost got screwed right there, but hopefully I should be able to actually solve this no problem mode for this point. But anyway, so we'll just go ahead and do that, and use that enemy to just try to do a double jump, and use that bomb-like enemy to be able to make that block explode, and that should do just that. So, and I somehow got hurt by mistake, but hopefully there should be a heart in here, which I've already obtained here, so should be good to go. So, I suppose another thing I should probably explain about this too is the fact that recently I've managed to able to order myself another Sonic game, which, well, I haven't exactly pre-ordered Sonic Colors Ultimate just yet though, but from now on I managed to get myself another Sonic game, but this time on the obscure Nokia N-Gage game, which appears to be Sonic N, which is basically, it's like an N-Gage port of Sonic Advance for the Game Boy Advance. The only difference is obviously with a bit iffy sound effects, and also that, well, you can able to actually just able to have a pausing options between continue on or exit out the game, which that could have been done it ever since in the original game. So I might be alright with that particular purchase, by the way, because I can still able to play the game on the go, but besides it plays out exactly the same as Sonic Advance 1, apart from the fact that the screen resolution is actually a bit slightly off, and also some of these sound effects has been crunched up at points, maybe with like in the forms of that opening cutscene cinematic when Dr. Eggman managed to able to get the hold of the Chaos Emerald. So, in fact, I don't feel like trying to go for that particular game as a Let's Play, just because it's pretty much Sonic Advance, but on the Nokia N-Gage, so there's no point for able to do that Let's Play again. So, yeah, that's pretty much as far as I can usually describe about that, aside from the fact that I'm glad able to have Sonic N on the N-Gage for added to my Sonic game collection, because, you know, still a die-hard Sonic fan, so yeah, to be expected by this point. So, in fact, let me know in the comments below for the question of the day. Have you guys able to actually still experience Sonic Advance back in the day on the Game Boy Advance, or have you ever played the Nokia N-Gage version of the game called Sonic N, so that you can able to give your, well, I'd like to hear your thoughts about the fact how that version plays out compared to the Game Boy Advance counterpart. Although it might be felt a bit worse than the Game Boy Advance counterpart, but you're still able to actually have the ability to play the game on the go. And I'm pretty darn sure that Sonic N might not feature the tiny child garden or something, which, unlike the Game Boy Advance version of Sonic Advance 1, that you get that from the start, just because of the forms of the Game Boy Advance cable links unique selling point, due to the forms of, well, the release, along with the forms of, well, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle for the Nintendo GameCube. In fact, speaking of the forms of the GameCube version of Sonic Adventure 2, in this case Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, that game is pretty much almost guaranteed able to become 20 years old, until specifically by the end of the year, along with the forms of other GameCube titles as well. Many with like, you know, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Super Monkey Ball, Luigi's Mansion, Pikmin, and also some other titles which I honestly don't even know about. But yeah, another one of the comments, well, specifically the question of the day, what's your absolute favorite Nintendo GameCube game after 20 or so years of releasing from the GameCube era? Like, still my favorite titles will have to be by the forms of Super Monkey Ball, just because of my nostalgia, and also, have some fun mini-games on that game. And also, same applies to Super Smash Bros. Melee, just because of this fun, chaotic community. And also, that particular community for Super Smash Bros. Melee looks really strong, even to this day. And also, same applies to Luigi's Mansion, the original game specifically. And what else came out in 2001 during back in the day? I suppose that's pretty much as far as I can say. Well, I wasn't exactly keen on the forms of the Pikmin games as much as the other guys do, but it's not my cup of tea for Pikmin series every now and then, which I would explain this earlier, so... But anyway, and there's also another thing is worth noting for, is the fact that, usually potentially speaking, that, what else I'm gonna mention? I, totally forgot what I was trying to say things, earlier, but, I'm also able to actually just point things out right about now. That, potentially speaking, is the fact that, you know, when it comes to everything else, when it comes to, like, you know, films, games, or anything else like that, there's honestly not much else I can talk about, apart from the fact that, well, I might potentially try to able to actually watch, the Black Widow at some point in this weekend. Well, alongside with the forms of how Mighty is gonna come back onto Mario Party 5, for able to tackle through the 6th board in that game, which is of course Sweet Dreams about to come up. So, yeah, it might be a bit of a perfect opportunity that he will definitely make a comeback in Mario Party 5 in the actual, the Let's Play continuing, so... Also, I really still love the actual retry option, because that way I can able to restart the, whatever room I'm in. That way I can able to actually do multiple attempts by able to do a successful attempt on certain rooms. Which, you know, just like in Moonlight Museum, despite the fact that you're gonna have to memorize the actual all the menu commands mean. Like, because obviously that game is entirely in Japanese. Whilst the forms have been here, along with the forms of Dream Champ Tournament, you can able to actually just able to actually can tell the actual menu settings and all that stuff, because everything else is in English. So, at least that's pretty good for my liking, because if it's completely in Japanese, like for instance if I was trying to play, you know, Kingdom Hearts Final Mix, along with Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix on the original PlayStation 2 versions, I pretty much do not know of what the Japanese text does usually means, but at least thankfully on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 versions of the game, they do manage to able to go localized, and along with the forms of remastered soundtrack and improvement visuals, 60 frames per second, specifically on the PS4 version. I couldn't mention about the fact that maybe the PS5 version will get some treatment too, until specifically next year, when it comes to its 20th anniversary of the series, mainly with, like, you know, adding, like, although we will still retain, like, you know, 60 frames per second, or maybe they could have added in 120 frames per second or something on the PlayStation 5 version, along with the 4K version of the game. Well, it could be, depending though, it could be a bit of a speculation at the moment, just because, well, obviously they managed to work on, you know, the next, The World Ends With You sequel, which, it might be seems true for that case, so, along with the forms of other Final Fantasy stuff here and there as well, including the upcoming Final Fantasy 16, and, I suppose that's pretty much about it, so... Anyway, oh, and another thing is worth noting for this point too is the fact that this particular year, for 2021, marks the 25th anniversary of the Persona series, which that's something I don't even know about until I do a massive research on certain newsletters and all that stuff when it comes to gaming community. Even though I haven't really know about the Persona series as much, compared to other franchises I was really into, but the only time I do know about the Persona series is actually by the forms of the Joker as a fighter in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so at least that might be something worth noting for the sake of time, so... Yeah, speaking of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as well, that, usually, remember the forms of the reveal trailer of, Hero from Dragon Quest XI? That, usually that particular DLC fighter will become, 2 years old until specifically for this month. So, geez, why is time usually flies all of a sudden? Oh, I got crushed! Darn you, level designs. or specifically the actual auto-scrolling parts. But thankfully, we've got a checkpoint right there, especially noticeable we can able to re-grab those little dream crystals again, so that way we can able to just, you know, still collect them as to be expected. So, but usually as far as I can usually try to able to point things out for the start. So, anyways, let's try this part again, and hopefully we should, there we go. I think we've managed to pass this, and hopefully we can able to actually just to grab, you know, some more dream crystals by using these little propeller-like enemies to able to float higher up. So yeah, and also I do apologize with the actual, another delay of uploading schedules, because obviously that this was expecting to be up and during at 5 o'clock today for the UK time, but of course about the fact that we're actually getting pretty slowly when it comes to like uploading schedules, which again, it might take some time, but regardless of such though, that we are eventually catching up after the events of, well, the Dorset vacation, so that might be sure it's something worth noting for. But anyway, so now let's go ahead and move on to Vision 4-7, which, as you can tell, we still need to able to utilize the actual water level switching, so that might be something that's worth classified for noticing this. And also, you do realize is the fact that this particular part, for this point today, does have a lot of editing that I have to deal with, especially when if you like trying to get this right, or especially potentially if you really want to able to grab the rest of the forms of certain collectibles, then most of the time that I just managed to able to just, well, do a lot of editing process for able to get this right, so, but I digress. And yeah, by that time for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, as the game itself, I think I'm also able to, you know, currently take a break on that game for quite some time until they're able to reveal the final DLC fighter for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, so that should be exciting, especially noticeable about the fact that we don't know exactly what the fighter itself is going to be, because we'll never know until when it gets to the point, until at the very end of the year, so actually I need to take the invincibility frames here, so just in case I can able to do that, and trying to toss that over there, and yeah, this is what I mean, is the fact that certain puzzles every now and then can get a little bit slightly tougher as you progress, so that might be something worth classifying for noticing this. But actually, rather than just doing it here, in fact, let me just go ahead and grab it with the wind bullet, which hopefully I could able to grab that, which, there we go. So we're just gonna have to like go there, and then actually, no matter what though, even though it does manage able to become a little bit more mesmerizing or memorization when it comes to certain puzzles every now and then, but it knows what it stands for the most part. But anyway, and why do I just manage to fell in there, which I absolutely have no idea, but regardless, we've made it through there, so I guess that's something. So anyways, let's move on to this next section, but before I go to this next part, I think this is where the end of the level is supposed to be, which, it might be seems true, because we still need to acquire a heart, key, which, that might be seems the case, so we'll just, skip that. And of course, I managed to came here for the sake of that particular blue crystal gem, so at least thankfully we've got that, so anyways, let's climb onto that ladder and try to solve this particular puzzle to the left. So hopefully we should be able to actually do it okay enough. So, I somehow died! I wasn't paying attention, so whoops. So anyways, what we're supposed to do in this part, that you're gonna have to do this, and once you're able to let this enemy go all the way down, just do that. And also, this particular puzzle does give you a lot of timing requirements, because if you don't manage to do a correct timing or what have you, then you're gonna have to retry the room again. So if you mess it up, well, at least thankfully you can able to actually let that enemy respawn, but at the same time it will be not enough. So you're gonna have to able to actually get a lot of usage on that block. So anyway, so let's just go ahead and go up, and thankfully we've got ourselves a triangle-shaped key, so that way we can able to go to the next section. So, yeah, for the most part, this one was not too bad though, even though it does take you a lot of memorization when it comes to solving certain puzzles. We've especially noticeable if you're trying to go after these godforsaken those you know, dream crystals, specifically in the hoverboard section or other sections in particular, that it does take you, like, you know, multiple tries if you do this right, so... But anyway, so we, at least we managed able to got the heart key, so now we can able to just, go down, and, hopefully, we would be able to continue our progression there, so we'll do that. And, we'll just go ahead and use these little blue arrows to get the sense of progression there. And by the way, you're gonna have to do this a lot, by the way, if you're trying to go for the harder, like, set of levels and such. Well, it's not so bad in here, but until if we get to the very end of the game, it gets a bit, well, chaotic to say the least, whenever you're trying to solve that puzzle up, so, there's no point for able to go up there. In fact, is it possible I can go up? Oh, there we go. So yeah, you do need that enemy to able to actually just to toss it and then just hit the actual red arrows, and then, well, that's all you're supposed to do here. Still haven't seen the forms of some more infos on My Little Pony, a new generation thing going on, because, well, we were expecting to able to see a brand new full-fledged new trailer just to see how the film looks like, but then, well, we haven't seen the actual new infos on this since, which, as a result, that we really so desperately to see the brand new trailer, which, I know it sounds a bit weird to say things like that, but it knows where it stands. Okay, so basically we need to get an enemy, not the block, but an enemy, and then we need to stand on that switch, and no, you can't do it like that because that would be useless. But instead, we got able to aim it for the arrow sections, which yeah, we need to stand on here on that switch, and boom, there we go, problem solved. And in fact, that we've almost done with this, basically, so, yeah, we just need to make our way towards the very end, and that's all we're supposed to do here, so... Again, not too complicated if you're trying to figure this out, so we'll just go ahead and, why don't I just do that? Oh well, no big deal, but at least there's a retry option, so that's the good thing about it. Oh, I see what we're supposed to do. We need to, like, we need to just do that, and then toss it over to that red up arrow, and then, you know, land it on there, and that's what we're gonna do. So there we go. Now, of course, before we're done with this world, we need to take on this, this next boss. So, let's see. Well, this is as far as we can go. Shh. I heard something. Oh my, what is this thing? It's a monster! No, it's Dr. Medum. It's no use. Looks like we'll have to fight him. So yeah, this is what the, some of the boss fights might actually get a little bit significantly harder, but as far as you're able to know what you're doing, you should be alright. So basically in this entire boss fight, basically, you know, with these arrows, as they manage to constantly spread out throughout the whole battle, basically we do need to use those enemies and try to aim an exact point on the actual enemy's weak spot, or the boss's weak spot. I think the weak spot of this boss fight, it was actually on the top of his head. Because, basically, if you only have to deal the damage on him, it's by, once again, using those enemies to able to deal the damage. So, yeah, I think you have to do this like 3 times, and that's pretty much about it. Again, self-explanatory, but, most of the time, though, I just keep on getting hit most of my time. Especially how, it can be pretty tricky. So, either way, though, we'll just go ahead and, trying to do this again. Yeah, by the way, whenever you get into the next phase, or the third and final phase, for that matter, it gets a bit tricky, though, because now with the actual arrows just, like, constantly moving, and you have to do a perfect timing, if possible, until you're able to get this right. So, yeah, this is without a doubt one of the trickier boss fights, but at the same time, though, it might not be so bad after all, so... Oh, how do I just get hit right there? And also that you're gonna have to also try to deal with the forms of that tilting platform, because if you're about to be able to slide off the water, that means instant death. You know, this particular boss does reminds me of something. It reminds me of so much of one of those mini games that you played for the sake of Super Paper Mario, that you're gonna have to able to tilt the Wii Remote in a corresponding direction to able to avoid obstacles from the sky while guiding Mario and stuff like that. Well, usually it does remind me of that, except in the actual boss fight, as opposed to the actual minigame itself, so... Yeah, this boss is pretty tricky though, if you manage to get your timing going, so at least thankfully the heart does manage to spawn in if we get into the third and the final phase, so... Yeah, it might not be so bad if you get the hang of it though, but regardless of such, it might be still a bit tricky though. So here's the final phase right there, where basically the top of the arrow right there is constantly moving, and you're gonna have to do a lot of timing to deal with, as I said earlier, and it's just, well, it's all about timing based, so let's see if we can able to just hit him from there. Can we hit him? Yes, we did, and in fact, we've managed to complete it. The fourth world in Klonoa Empire of Dreams. So yeah, it looks like that we've pretty much almost done in terms of the actual Let's Play itself. So, jeez, it's going so fast, isn't it? How could this be? I'm trying to create a medicine to cure all ills. I ended up creating an incurable sickness. It's not your fault, Doc. What's someone used your dream for their evil purposes? Do you see anything peculiar in your dream? Well, let me see. I remember seeing twin moons. Twin moons. Red mist, blue mist, yellow mist, and twin moons. I've got it. It's the Emperor flag. Then the culprits at the castle. Let's get back to the castle. So yeah, that might be the actual responsible for all this entire, well, you know, chaos and stuff. So, yeah, anyway, suffice to say, I think we should probably end things up here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Klonoa Empire of Dreams. It's now we're going to be taking on the final world in the game, known as Lijama, which I do apologize for that mispronunciation of that world's name. So I'll see you guys on Thursday.